Good afternoon. I hope everyone is doing well. I hope it's a good Sunday for everyone. Um, I visited my biological father yesterday, and it, I didn't really grow up with him. Um, my mother and father divorced when I was a baby. I think if I wasn't a baby, I was no more than one or two. I was little when they separated, and from the time they separated, I didn't see my dad very often. I was a kid, so I obviously I didn't know that he was missing so much as just not in the picture. I wouldn't have known the difference. I was a child. Um, I do know that my mom did not always have decent things to say about my dad, and me being a child, that obviously would have influenced my decisions about my father as well. Um, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like my dad was this amazing, wonderfully great man. He definitely did his dirt, like so many young men do. And after the conversation I had with him, I realized that my mom probably did some dirt too, and she just never felt the need to give that side of the story. But that's right on brand with a narcissist. They do not accept responsibility. They do not admit wrong, and they don't um, they don't appreciate being called out either. And it was just very interesting hearing some of the things he had to say. Um, when I was little, I would sometimes go over to my grandparents' house, and my dad lived lived next door to my grandmother. So I would see him sometimes, but most of the time when I went over there, it was to see my grandmother or my aunts or uncles. Mostly because I never actually thought my dad wanted a relationship with me. Um, I realize now that a lot of that came from the things my mother told me about my dad. She was adamant that he was just a piece of shit man. Um, that, from what I could tell, she absolutely hated. The interesting thing about that is she constantly would tell me that I have too much of his side in me all the time. But I could clearly tell she hates this man. So I was left thinking, damn, she hates me too, because anytime we disagreed or anytime I was too comfortable being myself, she always would say, "You've got too much of them in you. You've got too much of them in you. You don't even spend time with them, and you've got too much of them in you. You're just like them, like just vile," because she doesn't like them, that side of the family. And I mean, that happens. I've got family members that I'm just like, it's good to see you when I see you. I don't have to keep seeing you. That's the way it is. We don't get to pick who our family is. We don't get to choose that. You were born where you're born. But anyway, yesterday I was feeling good for a while, and then I started getting a little emotional, a little sad, just in general, that I've been very emotional lately because I am realizing so many things so quickly. I feel like I'm overwhelming myself. But anyway, when I was there talking to my dad, I was just kind of explaining that, you know, I'm starting to realize a lot of things about mom, and I'm starting to realize a lot of things that I probably should have already realized a long time ago. But inside me, I think I've always hoped that one day my mother would be the kind of mom that I need, that she would be supportive and compassionate and caring and be there for me, which I'm 36. It ain't happened yet. It's probably not going to happen. And I obviously need to come to terms with that myself. While I was talking to him, I was telling him some things. Like I mentioned to him about her asking me if I would date myself, after looking in the mirror, if I would do that. And the first thing he said is, "Why would she ask something like that?" And I told him, I said, originally I didn't even think anything of it. But then a week later, I realized what she was actually saying. And her opinion of me is so low that she expected me to say that I would never date me, or I would, hate myself so much that I wouldn't do that. And I've realized, that's not a normal thing to ask your kid, especially your child who's hurting already. Like the need to further inflict pain, that's not what a good parent would do. A good parent would, try to make me feel better. And I realized that anytime I've ever been in any kind of real pain, what I got from her was more towards reminding me of that pain. And this has happened with multiple boyfriends I've had. Several years ago, I dated a guy for a couple months, and he broke up with me. And I don't know why. Because I ended up talking to him a few years later, and he took me to a movie. But at the time that he broke up with me, something else, I don't know, whatever, doesn't matter. Anyway, she was aware that this guy existed. I told her we weren't seeing each other anymore. It was over with. And every time I saw her for at least a month after that, have you talked to him? No. I haven't talked to him. I've been very clear that we don't speak anymore. But she would bring it up again and again and again and again. And to the point that I finally lost my shit and yelled at her, "We do not talk anymore. Do not ask me again, because we are not together. I don't know where he's at. He's gone." And then she got mad at me for getting angry. But I'm like, you keep bringing up something that you know is painful to me, and yet you keep doing it. She wanted to remind me of the pain. And she's done the same thing with my most recent breakup, which is another reason why I've not talked to her for about 2 weeks. Because every time we speak, she has to remind me that I'm the reason that the relationship didn't work. And I am positive that if I spoke to him, he would not say that. I was good to him. I was good to every boyfriend I've ever had. I've never dated anyone that when we broke up, they left the relationship worse than when they came in. They always leave better. And I don't know what that means. But anyway, I was talking to my dad yesterday, and something that hit hard for me from him was when he looked at me and he said, "Chastity, sweetheart, I am so sorry." He said he had no idea that I was going through what I was going through. And he said if he'd known, he would have done something. But I realized there's no way he ever would have known, because there's no way she ever would have told him the truth. She needed me to think that he hated me, and she needed him to just disappear. I realized that's what she wanted. When she married my stepdad, and again, I love my stepdad with all my heart. He is a tremendously wonderful man. But when she married him and they had my brother, I realized my mother's plan was to erase the entire side of the family that she doesn't like, the side of my family that I resemble. And my dad, that she swore for years didn't care, or was just this horrible, horrible man. And again, he did shit he didn't have any business doing. But she made me believe that he didn't care. And to hear him say that, yeah, he did wrong when they were kids, but that he is so sorry I lived the life I live, lets me know that she was lying to me about even my dad. It's incredible to me that a mother could do that to her own child. Because there was a point in time I asked to go live with him, and they refused to let me go. And I mentioned that to him, and he said, if you had asked me directly, I would have said no problem. But I didn't know that that was even an option, because I was under the impression that this man didn't care about me at all. But the longer I sat and talked with him, the more I could understand why my mother would always say that I had too much of them in me, because I'm just like my dad. I'm just like him. I'm analytical. I don't judge people. I try to find solutions for problems, and the whole time I was there, that's all we were doing. Next time this happens, let's try it. Let's talk about it this way, or let's do this instead, or next time don't tell so much. Just let her be, and don't argue because that's what she wants. You need to relax and keep your head about yourself. This is what my dad, the man that she made sure I felt, or I thought, didn't care whether I lived or died. He took the time to talk to me because he could tell I was hurting. And I've never had that from my own mother. And I'm just amazed that I didn't know this whole time. But I told him yesterday I'm about to start spending a whole lot more time with my dad because I think he's going to be able to help me understand a lot of things that I didn't understand. And I will be forever grateful for that. He made it clear to me that the person she is, that had nothing to do with me. That all started before I was even born. And it was very validating to hear that I'm not the reason that my mother was so angry. That started long before I ever graced this planet. And that was helpful, even though I didn't expect it.